Welcome to The Explainer. What if the secret to getting good at anything wasn't really about more hours, or even more talent? Today, we're diving into Laido Dittmar's The Art of Practice to look at a totally different blueprint for building skill, one that was actually discovered through years of frustration and failure.
Let's just start with a feeling that I'm pretty sure we all know. You're putting in the time, you're giving it your all, but you've just hit a wall. Your progress has stalled out. You feel like you're just spinning your wheels, and it is so frustrating. You know, if any of these questions sound familiar, you are in very good company. In a survey of over 500 athletes and artists, these were the things that came up again and again. These are the exact thoughts that hold us back. But for some reason, nobody ever really talks about the answers. Okay, so this is where the author found his first huge clue. He noticed this massive difference in how the top performers, the people he calls naturals, think about a quote-unquote bad day. For most of us, a bad day feels like a total waste. But for them, it just means making a little less progress. That tiny shift in how you see it, well, it changes absolutely everything.
So how did the author even figure this out? Well, the crazy part is, it wasn't because he was a natural himself. Actually, it's the total opposite. It all started with his own journey of just failing, over and over again. So the author, Laido Dittmar, this guy was the definition of a struggler. He started juggling at 17, which is basically ancient in that world, and was told constantly he just didn't have the talent. Even after practicing more than 8 hours a day, his first big performance was a total disaster. And the real wake-up call? Someone told him that after a decade of work, he might become a decent amateur. That's when he decided, all right, I'm going all in for 2 years to either crack this code or I'm done for good.
And you know where his big breakthrough finally came from? Not from juggling, it came from a drawing class. He realized that with drawing, something he'd always been pretty good at, he was just naturally, intuitively doing all the right things without ever thinking about them. He was a natural at drawing, and that was the huge light bulb moment.
And that's when he understood something crucial. The best performers, they often can't tell you how they do what they do because it's all unconscious for them. It's instant. Asking them for advice just gets you useless cliches like, you just gotta work hard. So he realized the secret wasn't to ask them what they do, it was to watch, to meticulously observe how they do it.
Okay, let's really get into this. Because what he discovered is that the biggest difference between the pros and everybody else, it wasn't about their physical technique. It was all about their mindset.
This chart just lays it all out. It shows this deep split in what drives people. Non-naturals are so often driven by fear, the fear of losing the skills they already have. So their priority becomes just running through their old routines to make sure they don't get worse. But naturals, they're driven by gain, that hunger for new progress. Their whole practice is built to get new results, not just hang on to old ones.
Now, this difference in mindset completely changes how we use our most valuable resource in practice. The author calls it high-value energy. Think of it as that peak full-power focus and willpower you have right when you get started.
And that brings us to maybe the most important strategic question you can ask for your entire practice session. Where are you going to spend that limited, high-quality fuel?
And here we see a complete flip of the usual strategy. Most of us, right, we start with our warm-ups, our easy routines, and then by the time we finally get to the hard stuff, our best energy is already gone. Naturals do the exact opposite. They attack the most challenging new skills first, spending their best energy on what's actually going to move the needle.
All right, so we've got the mindset, gain over fear, and we've got the energy strategy, hard stuff first. Now, let's see how this all builds into a real, actionable blueprint for your practice. And it starts with this idea called the 90% consistency rule.
So here's why we get stuck on plateaus. As you get better and better at something, the stress it puts on your system actually goes down. And if progress is really just your body adapting to stress, well then getting that last final 10% of mastery can feel nearly impossible because there's barely any stress left for you to adapt to.
And here is the trap. This thought seems so logical, doesn't it? Why would I move on to something harder if I haven't even perfected this yet? But that exact thought is what keeps us locked in this loop where we're just getting less and less back for our effort.
So, to break this loop, naturals use this really counterintuitive method. As soon as they get a skill about 90% consistent,
They stop. They deliberately move on to a harder but related skill. They work on that for a while, then when they come back to that first skill, that final 10% is suddenly a piece of cake. They basically make the old skill feel easy by comparison.
You can really see how the strategy works here. Instead of just grinding away at that last little bit, you invest that high effort into a totally new, harder skill. Then, when you come back, the effort you need to finally master that original skill has just plummeted. You're using a bigger challenge to make the old one feel trivial.
So let's put this all together. What we have here isn't just a small tweak. It is a complete redesign of how we practice. It's about consciously choosing that mindset of gain over fear. It's about using your absolute best, high-value energy on your biggest challenges first. And it's using that 2 steps forward, 1 step back method so that consistency becomes this effortless side effect of always pushing your limits.
And that's really the ultimate question this whole idea leaves us with. It's a challenge, really. A challenge to stop playing it safe, to stop prioritizing routine, and instead to put progress, to put the unknown, to put the difficult stuff at the very beginning of everything you do.